My teen female, stepmom, 40, Ariel, is really immature and honestly acts like a child sometimes. She's the type of person who makes fun of someone for having a hearing aid or wearing glasses. She also says bigoted things, i.e., someone on TV wearing a towel turban, and Ariel said, "Ew, why would anyone want to look like a Muslim?" So I do my best to avoid her. But Ariel won't stop reading my diary. I found out because she said I wrote rude things about her cousin Loretta and tried to punish me for it. I didn't write anything rude about Loretta, just that she was condescending to me, and I didn't like her comments. Dad just told me to respect adults and said nothing to Ariel about reading my diary. I've moved the diary multiple times, but Ariel keeps finding and reading it. She'll make comments and say things that she would only know about from actively reading my diary. I've told my dad and he won't do anything. He makes an excuse that, "Oh, you don't know Ariel reads your diary," when she clearly does. I got fed up with it. So I talked to Ariel again about respecting my privacy and not reading my diary. I then wrote in my diary that I caught my dad having an affair with our neighbor, Michael. Ariel ended up reading my diary the next day and freaked out. She yelled at my dad, went to Michael's house, yelled at Michael, and then she drove somewhere else. I do feel a little bad for Michael, but then again, he said rude and weird things to me too, and giving me some not so good vibes. My family on my mom's and stepdad's side all thought it was super funny and told me that I taught Ariel an overdue lesson about respecting privacy and not being nosy. But Ariel and my family on my dad's side are furious with me, and I'm still grounded at his house. They said that Ariel's just curious and wants to know what's going on in my life, and I should appreciate that Ariel intends to be involved instead of embarrassing the family in front of the neighborhood. Am I the idiot? Ha ha ha, most definitely not the idiot. This is poetic justice. Your stepmom played stupid games and won stupid prizes. I only feel bad for the neighbor. So now you've proven to your dad that you were right. Ariel was snooping in your diary. Instead of defending you, he's grounding you, actively choosing his wife over you, his daughter, and showing you that he's not providing a trustworthy and safe environment for you. Your dad and his family are enablers with a total lack of boundaries. You want to steer away from them. Yeah, diaries are private, period. They said that Ariel is just curious and wants to know what's happening in my life, and I should appreciate that Ariel wants to be involved instead. Excuse me? What? If she wants to know what's happening in your life, she can start a conversation like a normal person. Your father and his family are gross for taking the idiot's side on this. Peeping at people showering is just being curious about their life then, and so is stealing their passwords and checking all their social media and bank account. Like, I was just curious about how much money you had to give to me. The number of people having to ask if they're idiots for wanting a modicum of privacy is getting out of hand. How you managed to teach 3 lessons in one action is truly remarkable. You taught your stepmother not to be a snoop and to respect your privacy, and you taught your dad to actually do something rather than gaslight you, else crap things will happen, and also included a rude neighbor in your experiment. Ignore the complaining and moaning of your dad and Ariel's family, just like they ignored your complaints. But if you want to keep a diary, start doing it in a nondescript notebook that looks like a school thing. Keep writing in the fake one and leaving it out for her. Not the idiot, just a hilarious genius. Keep it up. I'm a 26-year-old female, and my sister's 22. My sister and I don't have a close relationship, and I can't say I ever considered her a friend or even a good family member. Most of it isn't truly her fault, but I place more on her in times like these. My parents believed that being the older sister, I needed to make sacrifices for her. If we were getting takeout and she wanted pizza and I wanted Chinese, well, she was the baby, so I should agree with pizza for her sake. If we both had birthday party invites for the same day, well, she should get to go, and I should be fine staying home. Same with going to see a movie as a family, or choosing where to go on vacation. We were all supposed to get a vote, but hers always counted as 2. So after a while, it seemed pointless. When we got older, it was often a thing I'd need to cancel plans if she had plans my parents couldn't take her to, or if they needed someone to watch her. And then they would order food before they left so she'd get what she wanted, and I'd just have to deal. I know stuff like that isn't uncommon, and in moderation, I don't think it's awful, but there was never any balance. My parents would argue that being older meant I had more freedom, and that was what I should focus on. But that freedom meant nothing because I couldn't make the most of it. My sister grew to expect that I'd always let her get her way, and when she turned 17 and I'd been out of the house and out of her life and my parents' lives, she reached out and wanted to know why I left, and I told her. She told me she'd do better, and we started to repair things, and I'd call her on being selfish, but it hasn't really improved, and I felt the relationship is more of a chore than a joy. A few weeks ago, I got engaged to my partner, and I asked my 3 closest friends to be my bridesmaid, and I chose to forego the maid of honor because I love all 3 equally. She assumed that she was my maid of honor, and I told her she wasn't. She wanted to know why, and I told her the maid of honor is a special role, and we're not close enough for that. She then comes out with how she deserves it for being a good sister, and how I'm being mean and taking the past out on her. I told her she had done nothing to deserve being the maid of honor, that it's not the past when it still actively happens, and she still tries to get me to treat her like her choice is worth more than mine. She started to cry and told me she's been trying, and that I was being mean to her instead of giving her time. But it's been 5 years of me calling out her BS, and of me telling her when she's acting like she has since we were kids. I think she expects me to just always deal with it under the guise of time. But she ended up leaving and was really upset. She told me that she understood I didn't always like her, but that I was mean with what I said. Am I the idiot? So, I assume I'm your maid of honor. No, you're not. What? You're so mean to me. I'm gonna act hysterical now. Why am I not your maid of honor? OP, you haven't done anything wrong. Your sister made a bad assumption because she's entitled. Then she acted outraged at your choice because she was entitled. Notice that nowhere in her conversation with you did she say she cared about your happiness or supporting your wedding. It's still all about her. You made a solid choice. You are not the idiot. But I'd get ready to buckle up if I were you. Golden Child is going to get all her flying monkeys whipped into a frenzy and send them your way. And get ready for your parents. They're going to come in hard. And once again, the Golden Child will end up being the center of attention, even though it's your wedding. It's so incredibly tragic that your parents set up this rift between you the way they did. It was divisive to your relationship. Your sister will remain a brat as long as she can always get away with it. You show more love to your sister by not giving in, enabling her main character behavior. Let your wedding be the first among many lessons she learns. My grandfather passed away a few months ago, but my family planned a date most convenient for everyone to have a memorial and spread his ashes. That date was this Saturday. Several of us live in a different state, so we had to fly in. My sister didn't want to fly alone because she thought handling her daughter and their luggage would be hard. I'll add here that my niece is autistic and can sometimes be difficult. One of the things she does is wander or run off. So she booked tickets for her and her young daughter on the same flight as me so I could handle the luggage. So on Friday morning, we went to the airport together and we were all through security. And while waiting in the boarding area, my sister was entertaining her daughter with her phone. The phone ran out of power, so my sister tried charging it in one of the airport outlets. It didn't work though, so she tried charging it using a power brick she brought. It still didn't charge. We thought maybe it was her power cord, so we tried mine, and it still didn't work. I tried the outlet with my phone and it worked fine, so we figured something was wrong with her phone. We only had a little longer till boarding, so I let my niece watch cartoons on my phone. Then they started to call people for business class, where my seat was, so I got ready to board. My niece started to get upset. My sister asked to borrow my phone for the flight to entertain her daughter. I have private things on my phone though, and letting them use it where I couldn't see made me uncomfortable. She then asked about borrowing my iPad. While I don't have much private information on my iPad, I had work I needed to get done and planned on using it to do work during the flight so I'd stay caught up. I told her that the plane probably had screens on the seat. Once I get on the plane, I notice that it doesn't have screens built in. My sister notices too when she and my niece are boarding, and she stops by my seat to ask for my phone again. I say no again, and the people behind her rush her to move on so they could get to their seats. After the flight, my sister looked stressed out and was very mad at me because her daughter had several outbursts and was very hard to deal with on the flight. I didn't notice because I had my headphones on the whole time. The relatives that picked us up noticed my sister was upset and asked what was wrong. My sister explained the situation and put the blame on me. I explained my side of it. They said it wasn't cool, that I should have helped my sister out, that I probably made the flight worse for everyone. Not the idiot. Why should you have to give up your stuff to entertain your sister's kid? That sounds like poor planning on her part. Not regarding the phone dying and refusing to charge. The phone refusing to charge was unexpected. Why didn't she bring her kids toys, coloring books, or something to give her daughter to do in case her phone died? How do you only bring one phone for an entire flight to entertain a child, especially when you know is prone to outburst? I flew with my 3 kids this summer and not only had 3 other adults to help me out, but brought tons of different things for them to do. Coloring books, regular books, our phones and toys, snacks, water bottles. Things break and you need backup plans, but I would never expect someone who wasn't sitting with me to give me their phone, except maybe my husband. Your sister should have had a backup plan for her daughter. You don't need to be the backup plan. Why wasn't the phone charged? She did try her best, but she's the one who knows better what would entertain her. You were there to help her with the luggage. I'm sure that if there wasn't important stuff on your electronics, you would have given her your phone. I wonder if your relatives gave her another phone and an iPad. They seem so concerned, so they should buy or give her theirs as a gift. You could tell them. When I was 5, my dad bought me a locket with pictures of him, my mom, my sister, and my brother, both older. When I was 7, my dad and sister died. My locket became something so treasured, I wore it all the time and didn't care if it was a formal event or not. When I was 8, my mom remarried. Mom's husband is Jeff. Jeff had a 1-year-old called Nathan, whose mom was not in the picture. Mom and Jeff then had 2 daughters together pretty quickly. My locket was something they all knew about because they'd see me wear it. Mom asked me a couple of times to add Jeff, Nathan, and the girls, and I told her I didn't want to. So when I was 16, Mom and Jeff bought me a new locket with their photos in it. I never wore it, but I put it in a jewelry box that I own. There were some comments and tensions that I never wore the new one. My half-sisters were upset about me not changing which one I wore all the time. I explained why the original was special, and they told me the new one was more special because it included them. My mom was annoyed at me for how I handled it, and Jeff complained to me for not appreciating what they did for me. I'm 19 now, and I live in a small apartment. My brother lives with his girlfriend. A couple of weeks ago, we stayed at my brother's house, and when I woke up that morning, my locket had been moved. I don't wear it to bed in case it breaks. I went about my day, and that weekend, when I got home a couple of days later, I wanted to look at the photos inside and noticed that they'd taken out my dad's photo and tried to squeeze in Jeff, Nathan, and the girls. I was angry. I called Mom and asked her if she'd seen my locket, and she told me I drove them to do what they did because I was selfish and inconsiderate and broke their hearts for the last 3 years by showing which locket I favored and which family I favored as well. So she hung up on me. I tried to calm down and went over to their house, Mom and Jeff's, and I told them that they had no right to touch my locket. Jeff told me they had every right to show a more accurate representation of my family and that I was hurting Nathan and the girls by wearing something that didn't include them when I had something that did. I lost it. I told them that they didn't have the right and they don't get to tell me who I can carry around in my locket or not. I told him he would never deserve a spot, told Mom she had lost her spot, and then I left, saying that they needed to stay the heck away from me. My brother couldn't believe they had done it. He sided with me and told Mom to accept that we didn't feel the way she wanted us to. Mom and Jeff said I was an idiot. Mom said since Dad bought it while they were married, she also had every right to interfere with it. Am I the idiot here? I truly hope you get the photo of your father back to replace in the locket, or I can find another to put in there, even if it's not the same. Not the idiot. I would strongly consider this grounds for going no contact with the family members involved. It's just wrong. Your mom is insanely insensitive toward you. This runs so much deeper than a locket. She's not acknowledging your grief and allowing you the space to remember your father and sister the way you want to. Mom remarried less than 1 year after the death of her child's father. She never cared about what was best for that poor girl and her grief. Instead, she tried to actively erase her father's memory from the get-go. I'm so sorry for all you've been through, OP. I strongly recommend therapy for yourself. You need to prioritize yourself and your mental health, since your mother never will. I think your mom clearly harbors a lot of guilt about moving on from your dad so quickly, but that isn't your problem. She should have taken a breath before selfishly rushing to replace him without even a second thought about how that decision would affect you. So yeah, your mom made this bed, and now she gets to lie in it. I hope she has the life she deserves. I, 25 male, have always had a feminine baby face. It's not to the point where I get mistaken for a woman when I go out, but enough to where people have commented on it in the past. I could easily pass for one if I tried to look like a girl. It's also been a running joke between my best friend, 28 male, and me for him to give me my feminine-leaning nicknames. These can range from something subtle, sweetheart, pretty boy, beautiful, or something much more blatant. Dream girl is probably the most obvious one I can think of. I think it's kind of cute. When he does it when we're out and addresses me that way to other people, the humiliation of it is fun. He's done this around my fiance, 23 female, from the first time they met, just like he does it around almost everyone. She asked me if I was struggling with my identity a few months into our engagement. I wondered what she was talking about, and she pointed out the nicknames that I might feel more comfortable opening up to a longtime friend than her about something so serious. I really didn't want to get into some long conversation when I said no, and then I had to explain the nicknames, so I just said yeah. It wasn't a total lie considering I don't really care how people perceive me. I still prefer he and him pronouns, but it's not all that important to me. I told her I was just living life, and identity didn't really matter to me, but I had opened up to my friend about some things. That conversation occurred last month, and last night, she asked me if I was comfortable talking to her about my transition yet. I was visibly confused, and she claimed I had told her that I was really confused about my gender identity, something I never said. I laughed it off, but she won't drop it, and now claims I've been lying to her about a serious topic. Am I the idiot? You are the idiot. Why are you engaged to a woman you barely know and barely knows you? Why can't you be respectful to your fiance and speak to her like an adult about something she clearly perceives as a big issue? Please don't marry a young woman you clearly barely even want to talk to, and you clearly put your friend before her. Do you even like your fiance? This is a serious question because you had the time to explain to a bunch of strangers what was the cause of this argument, as well as having many of us believe you'd rather be with your best friend than the one you're supposed to marry. Don't marry this woman if you can't even be honest with her, and for that, you are the idiot. LOL, you're in love with your best friend, and you like that he emasculates you by calling you pretty boy. Be upfront with your fiance and save her the trouble of having to divorce you down the line. You are the idiot for lying to her and thinking you can lie to yourself enough to marry her while letting another person make you happier than you'll let your wife make you.